Happy National Volunteer Week, everyone. My name is Maria Lealy, Volunteer Coordinator for Learning Ally, and welcome to our 2021 Volunteer Appreciation Event. Before we get started, I just want to say a special thank you to all of our volunteers. You've been instrumental to the work that we do here at Learning Ally. And this year has been like no other for so many of us, especially our students, their parents, and educators. So we've seen an outpouring of support from our volunteers across the world willing to help us. And our volunteers are ensuring students have access to the tools they need in such a challenging time for academics. So for that, we are so incredibly grateful for all of you. And I just want to say it's truly inspiring to see so many people who dedicate their time and their energy to improving lives, the lives of people that they don't even know and have never met. And that is exactly why we wanted to invite you here today. We want to celebrate your service with Learning Ally and all the lives that you touch every single day. So we've invited some special guests to help us do that. But before we get into the latter of the event, I'm going to pass it over to Paula. Paula is our Volunteer Nation lead, and she's going to share a few words with us now.
Welcome, everybody. I can say that this is maybe the best moment of the year for me. There is a lot of work behind this event, and we wait for the entire year to have this moment with you and to say thank you for everything you have done for us. You make our work every day so meaningful and so special. I want to thank Maria, Russell, Eleanor, Dave, and Mike for all the preparation behind this webinar. There has been a lot of work behind it, and a lot of trying to find like really nice stories and really nice, kind of like experiences from our users to really help you understand the impact you are creating. I also want to recognize during Volunteer Appreciation Week, all the staff members that work with our volunteers, and I'm gonna mention all of them. Abigail, Audrey, Christine, Daniel, Dave, Eleanor, Kevin, Russell, Gigi, Sandy, Sarah, Alexi, Mike, Cherie, Christina, Ian, and Christine. All of them have been working really hard with our volunteers throughout the years, and they are the ones who inspire our volunteers every day to do what they do. So thank you so much. And then one more thing, this is your event. This is your time to enjoy. This is not an event in which we expect you to learn something. This is your time to enjoy. So sit back, enjoy, have fun. We're celebrating you. So I'm gonna pass it on to Maria because I know she's gonna make a very special introduction.
Thank you. So our agenda for today, we're going to start with a message from our President and CEO, Andrew Friedman. And then we're going to highlight some volunteer accomplishments from the past year. After that, we're going to hear from some parents, students, and educators on the impact of Learning Ally. And then we have our Volunteer Service Awards. And at the end of the event, we're going to be honoring and remembering 3 very special volunteers who passed away this year. We have a full agenda for today. So with that, we're going to get started. I want to welcome our President and CEO, Andrew Friedman, to share a message to our volunteers.
Thank you, Maria. Much appreciated. So I'm going to be brief today so we can spend our time, as Maria and Paula said, celebrating you. I want to personally thank each and every one of you. I think you all understand and know that without you guys, we can't do the work that we do. You are essential to supporting our students, our educators, our staff, in the work that we do. So first and foremost, thank you very much to each and every one of you for your volunteerism and for all of your support. As Maria said, this academic year has been like no other, and hopefully like no other one ever again as we hopefully spin out of the pandemic. But we've asked a lot of you guys this year. We've asked a lot as you continue to not only support us on our audiobook solution, but many of you have helped drive usage, have helped in some research projects, have also helped us to continue to raise money. And all of that allows us to reach over 1.5 million students, which is absolutely amazing. This year, as I said, has been a rough year. Our usage has been relatively flat, which is not like any other year we've had. We've grown significantly every year, but everybody we talked to basically said flat is great and flat is good. So thank you for all the work you've done to get us to this point. There's going to be a lot more coming down the pike as well. We are going to not only continue to focus on students with learning disabilities, but focusing on our most at-risk students. I think most of you know that roughly 64% of kids read below proficient in this country. And when you take into account children of color, that number jumps to 80%. So you're going to be hearing a lot more from us as we continue to expand out our services. We're going to be launching a new early literacy solution in pilot mode over the summer and then fully into the back half of next school year. We're going to have deeper offerings around our professional learning, our educator support community, as well as ongoing coaching. So a lot more coming. I think we'll be deepening our relationship with all of our volunteers, obviously getting everybody more involved in the work we do, because to be honest with you, without you, we can't deliver to the 1.5 we do today, and we won't be able to deliver to the millions more we are going to be supporting in the not too distant future. So one more time, on behalf of staff, on behalf of myself, on behalf of the board, our deepest appreciation for everything you do and everything you bring to the students and educators that we serve, because we can't do it without you. So thank you very much, and back to Maria and back to Paula, and have a great rest of the hour.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you so much, Andrew. So we're going to go into a little bit more about the numbers, so you have a better idea of all the work behind the microphone and all the work behind the computer. How is that changing our numbers internally? So this last year, and when we say this last year, we're measuring from April 2020 all the way to March 2021. 1,200 volunteers donated almost 75,000 hours, which is equivalent to almost the work of 30 full-time employees. That's amazing. To be honest, I have been working in volunteer management for so many years, and I have never seen the level of commitment that I have seen within Learning Ally volunteers. As you can imagine, when COVID-19 hit back in March, we start getting crazy amount of applications to a point on which we needed to change our processes, our onboarding process, because it was just a lot for us. And as you saw maybe throughout the year, some projects became more hard to get just because we had a lot of more volunteers. So 8,200 volunteer applications were received last year compared to 2,800 the previous year. So it's almost 4 times the interest that we got. But this was great because actually, it converted into more volunteers being active as compared to previous years. So we have more than 850 active volunteers recording, doing quality assurance, and supporting with other projects, as compared to the previous year that we had almost 400. So 1,400 plus literature and textbooks were created and focused, and we focused really hard this year on diverse voices. And I'm sure you have been seeing that as we are announcing, as we're recruiting more volunteers with diverse voices, but that's pretty much the need of students out there. 80 plus companies have requested to have corporate group events with us. We have been partnering with some of them. And something really interesting that happened this year is that corporations are also matching the time that you are donating. So when you report those hours to your employer, we're also receiving additional funding, which is great. So we definitely appreciate the volunteers who have been doing that. And then we have also seen a lot of additional support in different internal projects. We have created 15 new opportunities and ways to support internally with other projects. And we are, really appreciating that volunteers are really taking on different tasks. So I will transfer to Maria. Maria, I don't know if you want to mention some of those ways that volunteers have been supporting in any areas different than audiobook production.
Sure. So we've seen volunteers help create audiobook trailers, so helping engage our students and educators in reading. Those book trailers also support some of our volunteer narrators who are aspiring voiceover artists. They can share them on their page and just spread awareness about Learning Ally. So that has been an essential role to our organization. We've also seen volunteers make fundraising phone calls. We've seen support in our Spotlight on Early Literacy and Spotlight on Dyslexia conference. So volunteers have helped us engage educators and increase revenue for our SPOD and SPAL conferences. We've also seen volunteers support in our Facebook read alouds. We've had volunteers, as Andrew said, help with research. So volunteers recently helped research some engaging brain games for struggling readers. And we are always looking for volunteer support to just help spread awareness. So we have had, like Paula said, an outpouring of support over the past year, and we are extremely grateful for each and every one of you. So we can sit up here and tell you how grateful we are all day, but I want to give our parents, students, and educators a chance to tell you that as well. So we reached out to a few families to help us recognize your service, and they were kind enough to share the impact that you've had on their lives. So the first message that we have is from Gary. Gary is a father to Scotty, a student who uses Learning Ally. And Gary's message was, "My son absolutely loves Learning Ally, and he has won the last 2 years of the Summer Reading Challenge. He ear reads all the time on his own. His vocabulary is awesome and probably better than mine. It is truly a wonderful app, and I would like to say a genuine thank you to all the volunteers. They make a difference. Dyslexia is real, but does not stop kids from enjoying books. Thanks to the volunteers who read and record books. Gary." So thank you so much, Gary and Scotty, for sharing that message with us. And then we also had a video submission sent in from Heather, Luke, and an extra special guest named Henry. So Luke is actually one of our top readers from this academic year. Luke has read over 72 books, and he has 25,491 pages read. So first things first, congratulations, Luke. That is an incredible accomplishment. And now we will hear from Heather, Luke, and Henry.
Hi, my name is Heather Kaufman. This is my son, Luke, and he is severely dyslexic. And we just want to say thank you so much for, I'm going to cry, the work that you do for the audiobooks. Luke loves to listen to audiobooks. He has his headphones on almost 24 hours a day. Listening to audiobooks is one of his absolute favorite things. And not only are our school books often found on Learning Ally, but books that Luke just likes to listen to for fun. And it has made it so that people have commented to me about the expansiveness of his vocabulary and the expansiveness of his knowledge from the books that he's listened to, even though our friends know that he's not reading books on his own at this point. So, yeah, we just could not be more thankful. And this is Henry. What do you have to say, Luke? I just want to tell him thank you.
It's been really nice to just be able to listen to audiobook instead of like when I'm working out or doing chores. It's been nice.
Yeah, Luke listens to them constantly whenever he gets a chance. And
She
so
made me stop, so I had to do school.
yeah, he has other work to do. So, but so yeah, we just want to say thank you. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work. Bye.
Thank you, Heather, Luke, and Henry for sharing that video with us. And then our next guest, if you attended our live event in January, you may recognize this voice. So this is a homemade video.
Hi, my name is
from Catherine. Catherine is a 9th grade student who uses Learning Ally's audiobooks. Back in January, Catherine also created a voiceover talking about how Learning Ally and volunteers have changed her life. So like I said, you may recognize this voice. But today, Catherine wanted to share another message with our volunteers. So here is Catherine's video.
Hi there, volunteers. My name is Catherine. Some of you may have already heard me tell my story, but I'm back again to share with you my appreciation of what each one of you does for a person like me every single day. I like to say that I'm living proof that individuals like myself with dyslexia or other learning challenges can really grow and become independent and confident learners and lead normal lives. My early academic career was bumpy at the beginning, to say the least. I mean, I remember in first grade, I really discovered that reading was a real struggle for me. I remember this was a really hard part of my life. I had tutoring sessions 3 days a week and then like twice on the weekends. And I remember we had to do spelling tests, grammar tests, sight words, vocab. And with my reading challenges, everything was just so much more of a struggle. And while other kids are going out and relaxing and playing on the playground, there I was sitting in tutoring lessons trying to learn how to read and become successful with my academic career. I remember in class I'd look to the kids next to me and see them blowing through chapters of a book, and I'd be stuck on the first page trying to go as fast as I could, but really not understanding or comprehending anything. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I didn't know what made me different than everyone else. And that was what really hurt. And I needed something to help support me so that I could continue and to learn how to read and to grow and become that student I really wished I could be. But then, you know what's coming. We found Learning Ally. And all of a sudden, my life got so much better. I felt empowered. Now I could work independently. I could just go to my cell phone or my laptop and pull up Learning Ally and look up the book I wanted to read for class and just play it and listen to the live human voices. Before Learning Ally, I'd see a textbook page and just see a big wall of words in my way. But when I had Learning Ally, I was able to smoothly transition through all of the pages and really be able to understand what the text was saying and be able to do my homework assignments with ease and not have it take 5 hours to get the reading assignment. Actually, just recently in my English class, we finished the book The Odyssey, and with all the old English and the weird phrasing, I swear I could not have gotten through that book on my own and on time without Learning Ally to help and support me.
I just want to say a quick thank you to Catherine and Julie. Julie is Catherine's mom. Thank you so much for helping us create that video and recognize our volunteers, not just with this video, but Catherine's previous video as well. The past few students that you saw, they couldn't be with us here today, but they wanted to share their thanks and their gratitude for everything that the volunteers have done. And I also learned today from Catherine's mom that Catherine learned to play the guitar during COVID. So the guitar that you heard in Catherine's video, that was all Catherine. She is completely self-taught. So amazing work, Catherine. You are always so creative, and we appreciate everything you've done for us. And last but not least, we have Maria Arcodia here with us today. Maria is a first grade teacher and an accredited Orton Gillingham Associate Practitioner at Brooklyn Arbor, a New York City public school. Maria is passionate about supporting all students, especially students with dyslexia, as they begin their journey toward literacy acquisition. And Maria is also a mother of a student with dyslexia. So Maria personally witnessed how Learning Ally has changed her son's life trajectory, as well as his academic trajectory. So thank you so much for being here with us today, Maria.
Thank you. I thought that I wouldn't get emotional, but chances are I may. So let's just hope that it goes okay. So I'd first like to begin by expressing my deep gratitude to the Learning Ally community, particularly today, as I'm fortunate enough to be in the presence of greatness. You, the volunteers of Learning Ally, who make a difference in the lives of individuals across our nation each and every day. As volunteers, you bring the world of reading alive for our students. Your dedication to ensuring accurate prosody in recordings provides a model of what good reading sounds like, that conversation between the author and the reader. There's nothing more heartbreaking for a teacher or a parent, to witness than a child who's interested in reading yet can't do so independently for a variety of reasons. You help bridge that divide and encourage our readers to join you on adventures where they learn from characters, informational texts, and ultimately, they learn about themselves. Federally individualized education programs, known as IEPs, stipulate that assistive technology tools should be considered and made available to those who qualify for each particular service. And while it's difficult to quantify how many students are provided with assistive technology, what I've seen locally, in person, and across the nation in forums is how meaningful Learning Ally is for the students who have access to it. Your work has changed how teachers think about the meaning of reading. Reading isn't just eye reading, it's finger reading and ear reading, which wouldn't be possible without your voices. You're changing the face of education from the ground up. The ability to read along with dedicated volunteers modeling fluency, intonation, and a deep understanding of punctuation encourages our children to see beyond the thickness of the book and into the actual story. Students who would typically frown if handed a 387-page book to read independently enthusiastically search the chapters tab in Learning Ally to see how many chapters and how long the audio is. As Ben Foss stated in the Dyslexia Empowerment Plan, his ability to train his ears to read at the increased rate helped further level the playing field for him in his education. Now I see some of our children are training their auditory and visual skills to listen to your voices and track print at increased speeds as they progress through the apps within the years. While our remote status means that I couldn't get a reply from all of our students, I do have a few special shout outs to those of you who've worked on the following student favorites. The Lightning Thief. The way you captured Percy, Grover, and Annabeth's distinct styles helped one reader increase their comprehension of the text, further encouraging them to finish the series and move on to the Olympians. Wonder, as one student said, truly sounded as though Augie was talking to us. We could feel his pain and joy in his curiosity. Fish in a Tree. Allie was a mirror for a student. It was the first time he shed a tear and acknowledged his struggles resembled that of Allie, her brother, and her father. Knowing that she was misunderstood as well helped this child connect that it wasn't dyslexia that was the problem. It was the teaching methods that are currently in place. He was grateful Allie's teachers learned more to make words come alive for him. The I Survived series. Students love learning about these historical events, and one friend is grateful that he has access to history outside of his school day. Charlotte's Web. It felt like we were right there on the farm with Charlotte, Wilbur, and the gang, eavesdropping on their conversations late at night. Esperanza Rising. It felt as if my titi was reading this book to me. Dogman series. Thanks for letting me read my favorite book. And of course, this is just the tip of the iceberg of wonderful narrators who add so much value to our children each day. We're grateful for all of you who give of your time and talent so freely that those who may experience the world differently can do so with grace and dignity. Thank you for sharing your gifts with us.
Thanks so much for sharing, Maria. It's so helpful to hear quotes from our students and how each book has impacted them. So thank you so much for going and grabbing those messages from our students. We did have one question come in. How have you seen a student grow academically and personally while using Learning Ally? Could you give us one example of a student you've seen grow over the years?
One is so hard because ever since I found out about Learning Ally through my son, we were able to secure a subscription for our school now 3 years running. So I will say that I think the biggest growth comes from the many of the children who are pretty much the same. They avoid books at all costs. They don't want to tell anyone why they avoid them. And when we give them the app and we tell them, find the favorite book, this is something that you're going to enjoy, we will help you with it, and we work through the sizing and the font, the difference in their demeanor. Forget about academics, that social emotional learning, like how they carry themselves. The poise that you saw in Catherine's video is so true. What she mentioned is echoed by students across the nation that have access to Learning Ally. But they seem prouder, they're more reliant, and they realize that they have access to texts other than the unbalanced literacy approach where students are given, high frequency words to read on their level. And they don't see themselves in the books. They know that they can be better than that. And I think that the greatest academic achievement is for the students who see themselves as more than and have that validation through your work. So yes, their fluency increases, their ability to read, their ability to comprehend, all of that is magnified. But more so it's that emotional piece that they wouldn't be able to get otherwise.
Thank you. I'm really glad that you mentioned that one of the students was able to recognize that it wasn't their fault that they weren't able to read. It was actually the instruction they were receiving. And that just goes to show all of the work that our volunteers are doing to not just support students, but our educators as well, helping them become literacy leaders. So thank you so much for including that very valuable point.
Absolutely.
So if you have any more questions for Maria, or if you want to share something with her, we will provide a survey at the end of the event where you can include all of that. And we will pass those messages along to Maria. Maria, you are receiving so many positive comments in the chat. So thank you guys for throwing them in there. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Paula. And Paula is going to introduce our Mary Alice and John Moreau Distinguished Volunteer Service Awards.
Thank you so much. And thanks, Maria, again I was also kind of tearing up here by listening to you. It's so powerful. And I think we have so much to recognize our teachers this year. You guys have gone above and beyond this year. So I will ask our volunteers and whoever is attending to be patient with this part of the event, because we're going to read names of our volunteers and we're going to present the Mary Alice and John Moreau Distinguished Volunteer Service Awards. We started with these awards last year, and I just wanted to share with you a little bit more about why these two amazing individuals are now part of our service awards. So Mary Alice and John were both volunteers in our New York City studio. Years ago, Mary Alice was a longtime volunteer who accumulated more than 4,000 service hours recording audiobooks for several decades. And she was part of the Wednesday morning breakfast clubbers. It was like a group that was meeting on Wednesdays at the New York City studio. She was also active and served as a secretary and member of our national board of directors. And then the generous philanthropic gifts directed to Learning Ally from Mary Alice and John Moreau's estate and foundation have provided Learning Ally with an incredible opportunity to invest and enhance our solutions for students who struggle to read. So I'm going to present the three awards that we're going to be reading. So the first one is the Overachievers Awards. These volunteers we're going to mention have donated an awesome amount of service hours in the prior year. And again, the prior year is April 2020 to March 2021. So we're going to read the different categories. We also have another category of awards that is the Above and Beyond Award that is not necessarily connected to the number of hours they have donated, but these are volunteers that have gone the extra mile, that have done something very special for us, that have participated in something very unique, and we definitely want to recognize them. And then the lifetime milestones, these are just simply fantastic volunteers that are kind of the backbone of the organization, and they hit these incredible lifetime service milestones in this past year. So I'm going to pass it on to Russell to read those names, and I will ask you to be just patient. This will take us maybe 4 or 5 minutes, but we definitely need to make sure that we name those volunteers.
All right. So beginning with the overachievers, as Paula said, these are hours donated within 1 year. So in the 1,000 plus hours category, we have Leslie Weisenfelder, Eileen Yen, Marcia Poppy, Rosemary McDonald, and Donald Sheets. In the 750 to 999 hour category, we have Diane Noraki, Barbara Stobanow, Alice Ellen, and Kathy Lee. In the 500 to 749 hour category, we have Bill Payne, David Welp, Kathy Jensen, Joseph Clark, John Hickam, Diane Martin, Kurt Herringhausen, James McCullough, Prudence Brightrose, Helena Buston, Rishab Jarial, Susan Green, Edwin Beck, Jerry Bird, Judith Lanzinger. And in the 250 to 499 hour category, we have Jeanette Cragen, James Morrison, Dorothy Liston, Brian Hill, Richard McCurdy, Anne Rao, Clifford Dotremont, John Kane, James Seward, John Sandlin, Lindsay Dodson, Myra Parker, Susan Wilson, Jim Meyerberg, Robert Anderson, Richard Piper, Albert Friedman, Dean Bell, Bonnie Marcus Bennett, Mary Fran Innes, Nick Jones, Sheila Damons, David Bebko, Kathy White, Chirag Goel, Bruce Kaplan, James White, Ann Rudisil, Jeffrey Engel, Todd Curlis, Mary Chiavone, Rita Peerdahl, Keith Nichols, Linda Mancia, Ann Crone, Kathy Cummings, Susan Snukel, Carol Buell, Robert Ellsworth, Mark Richmond, Bonnie Patterson, Thomas Lockhart, John Arnott, Betty Ann Cram, Paul DeLuel, Teresa Pavlin, Al Ketziora, Allison Seymour, April Forwood, Aniela Fields, Shirley Newt, and Anthea Winandy. For the Above and Beyond Awards in our Literature Community category, we have Bob Anderson, Helena Buston, Chris Gullen, Bill Payne, Les Weisenfelder, Biara Winter, and Eileen Yen. And the textbook community in the Final Editors category, we have Nola Bragg, Carol Buell, Kathy Jensen, Linda Mancia, Adele Phelan, Susan Snukel, and Barbara Stobanow. And in other categories below textbook, we have Joe Clark working with the VHOC, Kathy Cummings, Shelley Chinkata, Bernie Strauss working with the science community, Sue Green working with VHOC and TOC, Myra Parker, VHOC, Ann Rao, language, Karen Snook, TOC, Susan Cross Stanley, language, Ev Tate, science, and Susan Wilson, TOC. Working to support us with training support, Robin Brodowski. In quality assurance, Claire Musico, Arwa Oali, Melissa Sloan, Sophia Mossman, Rishab Jarial. And then for special service projects, Lori Faye, Emily Kearns, Sarah Van Alstein, Ryan Shikali, Ria Potapinjara, Paula Strumpf, Nikita Badlani, Shrindi Ramachandran, Cherie Kopel, Nick Flahakis, Uma Habiba, Debbie Mahalik. And now, the one you've all been waiting for, lifetime milestones. Here we go. For 9,000 hours, David Welp. 7,000 hours, David Bebko, Jeffrey Engel. 6,000 hours, Diane Noraki, John Sandlin. 5,000 hours, Marcia Poppy, Barbara Stobanow, Leslie Weisenfelder. 4,000 hours, Helena Buston, Clifford Dotremont, Donald Sheets. 3,000 hours, Joseph Clark, Kathy Lee, Dorothy Liston, Keith Nichols, Biara Winter. 2,500 hours, Prudence Brightrose, Carol Buell, Kathy Jensen, Roger Matrazak, Diane Martin, Richard McCurdy, Scott Smith. 2,000 hours, Edwin Beck, Al Kenziora, Bonnie Marcus Bennett, Jim Meyerberg, Shirley Newt, Bill Payne, Richard Piper, Kathy White. 1,500 hours, Todd Curlis, Sue Green, Judith Lanzinger, Patricia Lim, Rosemary McDonald, Susan Wilson. 1,000 hours, Catherine Dennison, Jennifer Ellis, Albert Friedman, Brian Hill, Myra Parker, Adele Phelan, Rita Peerdahl, Eileen Yen. You can also find a complete list of names on the Volunteer Nation community portal, all written up there. So please also take note of the honor roll if you want more recent achievements by volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Russell, for reading all those names. Some of you may say, wait a second, why my name is not there? It may happen that you hit that particular milestone maybe last year. So as Russell mentioned, go to this link. I'm going to add the link to the chat. Let me just make sure, yes. And you can go there and find your name potentially under the honor roll as well. Pass it on to you, Maria.
Thanks, Paula and Russell, for sharing the awards. Before we get into the next part of our event, I just want to say thank you to everyone, even though those who were not on these lists. Thank you so much for all of your service throughout the past year and for so many years. There are thousands and thousands of service hours on there, and you should all feel very proud of yourselves and the work that you do. I've reached out to a few different people this year because we've been really trying to recognize people when they hit a milestone. So every time I reach out to someone and say, hey, you just hit 6,000 hours, they are so humble. They're always like, oh yeah, but did you see how many hours Jerry Bird had? That guy's insane. He's great at what he does. And I just want to say, you guys are doing incredible work. No matter how many service hours you have, we appreciate everything you're doing. Jerry Bird does have a lot of hours, but all of you are doing amazing work for our students. So pat yourselves on the back. So now I want to take a moment to recognize 3 very special volunteers. I really want to remember them for their contributions over the years. So we've had 3 volunteers who sadly passed away this past year, and we want to take some time to remember and celebrate them for all of their efforts, for who they were as individuals. So we've asked a few different staff members to share some memories of these volunteers. The first volunteer that we want to remember is Robina Asti. So Robina selflessly dedicated her time and her energy for over 11 years to helping students. Some of you may recognize Robina. Robina was a volunteer in the New York City studio. Robina worked as a director and a monitor for our other narrators. And one fact about Robina, she was also a flight instructor and an advocate for women's and transgender rights. So Robina's advocacy helped change government rules to allow transgender people to receive Social Security survivor benefits. She was also awarded 2 Guinness World Records for being the oldest active pilot and active flight instructor. Robina's service to the world was unmatched, and we are very grateful for all she did to support us at Learning Ally as well. We are also remembering today Susan Smith. Susan was one of our Learning Ally team members in the Phoenix, Arizona studio. She was also a volunteer with us. And a team member of ours, Michael Kinsey, shared a message with us about Susan. I'm going to read Michael's message. So Michael said, Susan and I began working together in the early 2000s when she was a volunteer and a staff person at our Phoenix studio for many years. I would speak with her over the phone many times with technical support, as that was our only real form of communication back then to help troubleshoot one of our many recording systems. Years went by and we always stayed in touch, even after the studio closed. She has helped me immensely with furthering my freelance career, and I would not have the foundation I have built underneath me without her help. She is one of the most genuine, caring, and down-to-earth people I have ever had the pleasure to work with and just be friends with. I still think of her often and wish we had just one more time to chat, as I do miss her energy and laugh. Rest in peace, Susan, and hopefully one day we can chat again. With love, your friend, Michael Kinsey. Thank you, Mike, for sharing that message and helping us remember Susan. And then we are also remembering today volunteer Ellen Hanna. We have Learning Ally team member Eleanor Cotton here to help us celebrate and remember Ellen.
Thanks so much, Maria. I remember Ellen Hanna with so much fondness and admiration. She started volunteering for what was then Recording for the Blind in 1962, way back then. The Athens studio had been around for about 10 years, but had yet to find a permanent home. And Ellen was really instrumental in finding the funding for the construction of the studio in Athens, and it was built in 1967. Back when we had local boards, she was board chair twice, both during very critical times. One in the 60s when the studio was constructed, and also again in the 1990s when we converted from analog to digital audiobook production. So Ellen had a wonderful sense of humor. She had to, in order to raise 5 boys, be a middle school math teacher and a volunteer for so many hours for Learning Ally. I remember that her devotion to education led her to become a math teacher, and she said her young son asked her, "But Mom, what about the studio? I thought you worked there." She was a fixture at the studio and was willing to do whatever we needed, not just serve on the board and narrate math books, but also bookmark, set up the books, etc. One day when she answered the studio phone, a student recognized her voice and said that he loved hearing her sweet Southern accent read his math audiobook. She volunteered for 53 years with us, and there was a local news article about her 50 years of volunteering, and it got some attention nationally even. So here's the video that our local newspaper produced.
Page 567, Section 11-6, Graphing Inequalities in Two Variables. Sidebar, learn to graph inequalities on the coordinate plane. Vocabulary, boundary line, linear inequality. When my husband and the family and I moved here in 1963, there was a newcomers group, and you went there to find out what you could do in Athens. And I saw there was a table with some person there about recording for the blind. And I thought that sounded interesting, and I went over and talked to him and signed up. And that was in 1963. And I've been with them ever since. My mother lost her eyesight toward the end of her life. And I remember one time she was in a nursing home, and I walked in, and I had put a sign above her bed, "Mrs. Argo is blind," because she could fake it. And I remember I walked in one day, and she looked up at me and just broke my heart. She said, "I wish I could see your face again." And I thought, oh, that just broke my heart. I just feel like it's part of my life. I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have it. I do other things too, but I feel this is top on my list. Page 568.
She's a very dear person. We will miss her.
Thank you, Eleanor, for helping us remember Ellen Hanna. And I just want to say thank you to Daniel, Dave, and Mike for helping us remember Robina and Susan as well. So we're going to wrap up our celebration today. Paula, did you want to say a few words before we sign off?
Yes, Maria, thank you so much. I just want to say that my heart is full of gratitude with our volunteers, and that I hope you guys feel the same right now, that you feel that we deeply appreciate everything that you do for our audiobook solution and for Learning Ally.
As we wrap up today's celebration, I want to say a thank you from all of us at Learning Ally. Thank you to our volunteers and to the staff members who work with our volunteers every day. Each and every one of you is truly instrumental to the work that we're doing to support students. and not just our students, but to help our educators become literacy leaders. So when you volunteer with Learning Ally, you're not only supporting students and their success, but you are truly changing lives. So with that, I'll leave you. Thank you from all of us at Learning Ally, and have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone.